How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Hot News. Hot News! I'm doing this episode live because yesterday, unfortunately, I came down with a horrific case of food poisoning that made it very difficult for me to get any videos done. So instead, I've compiled all of the news yesterday. I just never got a chance to actually produce a video on it. So that's what we're going to be doing today, is a live run through of all of the sources that I got yesterday. This is not going to be the news for today. I still have to compile that and get that out. So you'll have a regularly scheduled hot news video at 2 a.m. South African time or about 8 p.m. Eastern, which is 5 p.m. Pacific. So stay tuned for your regular hot news program. But without further ado, let's just jump into today's news. Let's go. So, first up, that is the wrong scene. First up, we have Fujitsu has started mass production of NRAM. NRAM standing for non-volatile memory. Basically what traditionally could be used in something like Crosspoint with Optane. It's supposed to be faster. It uses carbon nanotube technology, offers faster write speeds, lower power consumption, and they're hoping that it would be a replacement for DRAM sometime in the future. There's no more specific application than that besides a nebulous time frame of eventually we're going to try to do that. It's a good technology. It's good to see that they're actually in mass production. Carbon nanotubes, always something that we can get excited about because it's happening. Anyways, SSDs, automotive, high-speed networks, it can operate at higher temperatures, which could potentially mean better server environments, that kind of thing. We'll have all the links and the sources and the timestamps in the description after the video is done being live, so you can check that out then. But let's move on to the next one, which is the most terrifying piece of news we have today. There is a sun-chasing robot spider that looks after the plant on its head. It is, that looks cute. That's cutesy. What is not cutesy is this. Look at that. That is horrifying. This little spider thing dancing around. Basically, they've just developed it to be able to find sunlight to actually take care of that plant that it's carrying on its head. The applications for this is actually pretty cool. I mean, if you have terrible luck with plants because you're at work or whatever, then this could potentially help you actually keep your plants alive by making sure they get enough sunlight. I, however, will just be haunted of this in my nightmares and not want to even look at this ever again. But you guys should know that this exists. Anyways, moving on. Anthem's 4K E3 demo needed two 1080 Ti's to run. However, the good news about that, even though it took two 1080 Ti's to get 4K 60 FPS gameplay, the best thing about this, it appears that BioWare is going to be trying to support SLI and multi-GPU configurations a bit better than a lot of other games on the market. So it could be something that we could look forward to in new games, new game developers not new game developers, but new games being supported for SLI, which is something that has been pretty much done away with by a lot of people. So it's exciting to see that one of the most anticipated games likely will have decent support for SLI, or they're just going to support it on their demo and not really care about what it's going to be like when we get it. But Anthem launches February 22nd, 2019, in case you're interested. And I know that the MacBook Pro was refreshed yesterday. I'll talk about that in tonight's hot news. But this is news that I gathered yesterday. Apple is planning an 11-inch iPad Pro, Mac Mini update, and then new Apple Watches and AirPowers. And obviously the new iPhones, those three different versions that we are expecting. New iPad Pro supporting Face ID, a new MacBook, Mac Mini, an iMac with CPU upgrades, and a new low-price notebook model, which is something we haven't really seen from Apple before, them trying to get into the lower-priced notebook market. And then obviously the new Apple Watch with enhanced heart rate detection, which could be good, especially for VO2 metering, which a lot of people utilize their Apple Watches for. And then hopefully updated AirPods, which also might have some sort of biometric detection, and then AirPower charging, which can charge your iPhone, your AirPods, and then your Apple Watch all in one, which they announced 2 years ago, and it's finally taken them this long to get it out. But for anybody who cares about Mac stuff, there you go. Expected updates. Then we have some VR news. Magic Leap 1, which is a Kickstarter project, I believe. Everybody was really excited for it. It made a lot of money on Kickstarter. This is reportedly going to be powered by the Nvidia Tegra TX2, the Pascal-based Tegra, which is a nice move. That's all that I could really report on it, is that it's going to be using Nvidia Tegra SoC technology instead of anything else from Qualcomm or another ARM-based solution. And then we're expecting that it would be out by September 22nd because they anticipated to release it within 180 days of their SEC filing or FCC filings. But yeah, Magic Leap 1 powered by the Nvidia Tegra TX2. And then more VR stuff. HTC is testing multi-room Vive tracking configuration. So this is also with the upgraded sensors and new base stations that it looks like the VR Home from Steam VR can potentially support multiple things so that you can trace out an entire house, basically all of the different sections of your house that you can actually wander through your own living room and dining room and kitchen all at once in VR, because that's how we're going to do things. We're going to live in VR even though we can experience perfectly good reality right in front of us. And then Microsoft is updating their Windows Notepad for the first time in years. Basically, this is a project you give to somebody who you're paying, but you don't know what else to do with them. So text zooming is now going to be possible. This is not something I particularly care about. I feel like the current Notepad is everything that Notepad is supposed to be, but they're going to update it. So keep your eyes peeled for that and a Windows update probably coming sometime in the near future. And then other Microsoft news, this is one of the coolest things that I've seen. Somebody, I'll link this again after this video is done being live, somebody made a holographic Cortana interface. So it works with Cortana. It actually has the actual voice. I'm not playing it for copyright reasons. And then they've developed this setup so that it can actually display Cortana from Halo in a pretty neat way. And then it uses a camera to detect whether a person's there. It's pretty sweet. I like this a lot. Then, this is some shaky news. An officer from the Air Force had his laptop hacked because of a known router bug. I think it was in a Linksys router, which compromised files on a whole bunch of Department of Defense technology. And not good, because even the government, even the Department of Defense apparently isn't trying to patch or trade out routers that could potentially be vulnerable. They gained access via the root directory using FTP. It's a Netgear router. Sorry, not Linksys. Netgear. So, yeah. And Netgear announced it over a year ago. And the Department of Defense apparently never looked into whether or not they should update that. And it's compromised quite a few documents. And then more bad news. Tesla whistleblower tells SEC of alleged wrongdoing at Gigafactory. And I know that I can come across as an Elon Musk fanboy. I have done that in the past. I do love Papa Elon, but I don't want to be seen as somebody who will ignore news for the sake of protecting him. It appears that there are claims with the FCC that what Tesla is doing with battery waste and safety flaws on everything that they're doing could be putting people in danger. So it's a previous employee who also has, I believe, a lawsuit currently going on with Tesla, although the FCC filing is something completely, or SEC filing is something completely different, not related to the lawsuit, and the SEC will have to look into how they're actually going to pursue the things that he is claiming is happening. Obviously, this doesn't mean that they are doing anything wrong. It just means that he is alleging that they do, and we'll just have to wait and find out where this develops, because, not everybody's perfect, but also if they're disposing batteries in a way that is not healthy for the environment or healthy for their company, it just probably best that this is looked into. And then, in case you have lost followers on Twitter, it's because the company has been purging locked accounts from follower counts. So if somebody has tried to log into their account and it locks them out, Twitter will remove them from your followers list. They no longer count as an active follower because their account can't be actually gotten into. My follower count actually went up by 6, which I'm not sure how that happened, but also, yeah. So some people have been reporting that they've lost a lot of followers. Some people are reporting a few. Twitter is claiming that most people will see a change of 4 followers or fewer, and I've actually seen a gain. So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to work. So, but apparently, if you've lost Twitter followers, it either is because your tweets suck or it's because of this new way of counting Twitter followers. And then Uber is scaling back their self-driving operations. They're laying off 100 employees, and apparently this is coming in the wake of the fatal crash that happened because of software bugging that is going on with how they're determining whether or not they should crash. So they've laid off 100 employees across Pittsburgh and San Francisco, which is rough. And I can't really talk about more than that because this is a really interesting pursuit of what Uber's trying to do, Tesla's trying to do, automated stuff, Nvidia's getting into the automated game. I don't think this is a real huge setback overall in terms of autonomous cars. I think this is just a temporary thing. Uber probably just can't afford the money, especially if there's going to be a lawsuit associated with the fact that they were likely responsible for the decision that indeed resulted in that fatal crash. We'll have to see where this goes, but I don't think this is overall a bad thing for... I think this is an overall net nothing event in autonomous car development. Because we also have the Einride's T-Log, which is an autonomous truck, but it only carries logs, up to 16 tons of them to be specific. It has a 300 kilowatt hour battery that can last up to 120 miles on a charge, probably good for Alaska, where, you know, you could just send these things across towns with the log industry. I don't know why I picked out Alaska there, but yeah, decent autonomous car technology coming out. I'm excited for this. Then we also have some fake. This is so fake. I can't believe that this is so fake. Nvidia GTX 2080 Ti graphics card benchmark leaked in ashes of the singularity, except for it's not. It just really isn't. It performs worse than a GTX 1080 Ti. It's about on par with the GTX 1080. It basically looks like this is completely doctored. It's not, like, the frame rate is horrible. It's 1080p at the highest settings, and it doesn't even hit 60 FPS. That's garbage. This is not a 2080 Ti. It's not going to be the 2000 series. It's going to be the 1100 series. Or even if it is the 2000 series, there's no 2080 Ti that's coming out initially. So this is a fake benchmark. If anybody on the internet is telling you that this is real, it is totally fake. There's no way this is real. I'm calling this hogwash, garbage, nonsense. But what's not fake is that Nvidia or Nintendo is rolling out new Switches which have a patched Tegra processor, because that was the difficulty with the modding that's going on with the Nintendo Switch, is that it's baked in at the hardware level with the Tegra SoC that the Nintendo Switch uses, and so that could be compromised. Now it appears that Nvidia and Nintendo have partnered up to release a new version of that Tegra that will no longer be susceptible to the same issues. However, it doesn't guarantee that there won't be another exploit that might be found so that the Switch can't possibly be hacked in the future, but it may look like that Switches going forward will be harder to hack or cannot have the same exploits used on them. So if you're going to want to use the exploits that have been discovered, you might want to pick up one that's already on the market or a used one, because that would be your best bet of making sure that you get a Tegra chip that is actually exploitable. And then the last topic of the day, which was also in the thumbnail and the title, Toll Core's revenue has dropped by 60% since the mining slump. So Toll Core, if you're not familiar, is responsible for PowerColor. They have lost 60% of their revenue since the mining slump began. You can see that right here. It appears that this has hit them hard. From what I can gather with all of my industry sources, it did seem like AMD AIB partners did bet a lot harder on mining than Nvidia ones did, which is obvious because AMD cards tend to be better crypto miners. So RX 580s, all of that, like going towards that. It appears that Toll has lost a significant amount of revenue, likely because they did bet bigger on mining than, say, a Gigabyte would, who only lost 20%, as we reported in a previous Hot News episode, which you can check out right up there after the recording, of course. And then I just want to remind you guys that we do have the UFD Deals website, where we try to find the best tech deals that are going on around the internet. There's a link to it in the video description. We just try to make sure that you get hot deals on everything that's going around, make sure that you're not paying too much for graphics cards, you're not paying too much for anything else, and we make sure that you know how much you're saving, what percentage off it is. We do our best to make sure that these are actual deals and not what, you know, Amazon would quote as being a deal, where it's just a price that's marked down from a price that they never sold it at. So this is our attempt to make sure that we can bring you hot deals from Hot News. So if you guys would be so kind to check out UFD Deals, everything here is an affiliate code, so it does support the channel and make sure that we can continue everything going around with that. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys so much for watching this live episode of Hot News. It's been a pleasure. working with you guys here. I need to get started on tonight's episode of Hot News, so I'm going to do that. I appreciate if you guys could hit that like button. Much appreciated. Shows your support for us. Please get subscribed to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content. I will try my best to stop clickbaiting you guys. I know that you've been complaining about it a lot, so I'm working on it. I'm trying to figure out a way to make sure that it is both enticing yet not deceptive. We'll figure it out. I'm Brett with the UFD Tech Channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see your smiling faces again in the next Hot News. Cheers.